A couple months ago, my wife told me that since we live so close to the beach, she wanted to start a new hobby: treasure hunting using a metal detector. That sounded like fun to me, so I went on Temu. If you haven't heard of Temu, it's a Chinese online store where you can get things really cheap. I went on Temu and I ordered her a metal detector. And 6 weeks later, this is what arrived. Yeah, I know, not what I was expecting either. It was just a piece of metal that had an arrow on both sides. I read the instructions, and the instructions said that the arrow would always point at metal. So I thought, I can give that a shot. So I put a piece of metal out on the table, and sure enough, it always pointed at the piece of metal. Even if I moved it off to the side, it pointed at the piece of metal. If I moved it to the other side, then it pointed in that direction. It would always point in the direction of the metal. But I did find a problem with this detector. And that is, if you had metal on both sides of the detector, it got confused. It didn't know which way to point. And it went back and forth until it got stuck in a loop. Once it got stuck in a loop, it didn't matter where you put the coins or the metal. It wasn't going to do anything but go left and right. So I read the instructions, and they said you had to do a factory reset when that happens. And that involved taking all the metal and putting it behind you. Then once you got the detector to point behind you, all you had to do was manually turn it so it faced the right direction. And then you were back to where you had started, with the thing pointing in the right direction. There was a second problem with this detector, though. Even though it worked well for copper and silver and gold, it did not work well with gemstones. So if you had a ring, a gold ring, but it had diamonds in it or rubies, didn't matter, it got confused. It didn't know if you wanted it to point sideways, down, sideways, up, sideways, down, sideways, up, and it got stuck in another loop. But there were no instructions on how to reset it from that problem. So you just had to throw it away and buy a new one. But that's okay because they're only $1.50. So I learned two lessons. One, you get what you pay for. And two, if you're going to shop on Temu, do your homework.